The box sat under the Christmas tree, wrapped in shiny red paper with a silver bow. To Olivia. From Mom. The tag read, not mother-in-law or even Nathan's mom. Just Mom. As if 5 years of marriage had erased my own mother and replaced her with this woman who had never once approved of me. I stared at the package, already knowing what was inside. Another passive-aggressive gift designed to remind me of my shortcomings as a wife, as a daughter-in-law, as a woman. Last year, it had been a set of cookbooks with recipes even beginners can't mess up. The year before, a subscription to a housekeeping magazine with certain articles helpfully highlighted. The year before that, weight loss tea and a gym membership. Open it, honey, my husband Nathan urged, his eyes bright with Christmas morning excitement. He genuinely couldn't see the pattern that had been established years ago. Mom always picks out the best gifts. I forced a smile and carefully unwrapped the box, making sure not to tear the paper. My mother-in-law, Patricia, watched with a slight smile playing at her lips. I lifted the lid to reveal a pair of bright yellow rubber cleaning gloves nestled in tissue paper alongside industrial-strength cleaning solutions and scrub brushes. I noticed your kitchen could use a deep clean last time I visited, Patricia said, her voice sweet as poisoned honey. Those granite countertops really show everything, don't they? These are the best cleaning gloves on the market. They won't tear like the cheap ones. Nathan laughed. Always practical, Mom. Olivia's been saying she wants to get the house more organized, right, honey? I hadn't said anything of the sort. What I had said was that I needed help managing our home while working full-time and caring for our 2-year-old daughter, Sophie. What I had asked for was his support in hiring occasional cleaning help, not rubber gloves and the implication that I was lazy or incompetent. Thank you, I said, with practiced politeness, placing the gloves back in their box. Very thoughtful. Patricia beamed with false warmth. You're welcome, dear. Maybe you can start with the guest bathroom. The grout was looking rather dingy when I used it yesterday. I glanced at Nathan, hoping to see some recognition of the insult, some defense of me, but he was already reaching for another gift, oblivious to the undercurrent of hostility flowing between his mother and his wife. His cluelessness wasn't new, but the weight of it felt heavier each year. Actually, I said, standing up and walking to the coat closet, I have one more gift. I pulled out a manila envelope I'd hidden there the night before. This one's for you, Patricia. Her eyebrows raised in surprise. In 5 years, I'd never given her a separate gift. Everything had always been from Nathan and Olivia. She took the envelope with a smug smile, probably expecting a gift certificate for a spa day or something else she could critique as being not quite right. What's this? She asked, sliding her manicured nail under the flap. Just something I've been working on, I replied, my heart pounding but my voice steady. Something I think is long overdue. She pulled out the stack of papers, her eyes scanning the first page. The smile froze on her face, then slowly melted away like ice in the summer sun. Divorce papers? She whispered, her voice suddenly stripped of its condescension. You're divorcing my Nathan? Nathan's head snapped up, the color draining from his face. What? Olivia, what is this? I took a deep breath. I filed 3 weeks ago. Your mother is just the first to know. But why? Nathan sputtered, looking genuinely shocked. I thought we were happy. That's the problem, I interrupted quietly. You've never really thought about what makes me happy or unhappy. You've never really seen me. The cleaning gloves sat on the coffee table between us, bright yellow and accusatory. 5 years of similar gifts, 5 years of subtle put-downs and criticism, 5 years of a husband who never defended me, never really partnered with me. Is this some kind of joke? Patricia's voice was sharp now, all pretense of sweetness gone. Nathan, tell her she can't do this. Tell her she's being ridiculous. But I wasn't being ridiculous. I was finally being honest. My name is Olivia Collins, and at 34, I just served my mother-in-law divorce papers for Christmas. But while Patricia was probably already planning how to comfort her precious son through this ordeal, imagining me as the villain in her narrative, I was calmly collecting the gifts for my daughter, preparing to leave the house that had never really felt like my home. The signs had been there from the beginning. The way Nathan deferred to his mother on everything from how we decorated our house to how we raised our daughter. The way he dismissed my concerns as overreactions whenever I tried to talk about his mother's behavior. The separate checking account I'd opened 6 months ago when I realized our marriage was beyond saving. You can't just leave, Nathan said, finally finding his voice. What about Sophie? What about our family? Sophie's already at my sister's, I replied, keeping my voice level despite the storm of emotions inside me. I packed her things last night while you were at your office Christmas party. The party I hadn't been invited to because Nathan had told me at the last minute that his mother was coming as his +1 instead. Mom's in town unexpectedly, he'd explained, and she really wanted to meet my colleagues. It wasn't unexpected at all. She'd planned it weeks ago, and Nathan had chosen not to tell me until it was too late for me to object. That had been the final straw, the moment I decided to move forward with the divorce papers that had been sitting in my desk drawer for almost a month. 5 years of being the third wheel in my own marriage had worn me down, but that night, watching Nathan leave the house in his best suit with his mother on his arm instead of his wife, something inside me had hardened into resolve. This is absurd, Patricia snapped, standing up and throwing the papers onto the coffee table. Nathan, call your lawyer immediately. This is obviously some kind of emotional manipulation. I looked at my husband, soon-to-be ex-husband, and felt a wave of sadness. He truly seemed bewildered, as if the thought that I might be unhappy had never crossed his mind. Despite everything, I hadn't wanted to hurt him. I had loved him once, deeply, before his mother's constant presence and his constant acquiescence had eroded that love bit by bit. The papers are straightforward, I said quietly. I'm not asking for anything that isn't fair. Joint custody of Sophie, division of our assets according to what each of us brought in and built together. My lawyer can walk you through the details. You've been talking to a lawyer? Nathan looked wounded. For how long? 3 months, I admitted. Since the day you let your mother redecorate Sophie's room while we were at work, against my explicit wishes. I could see the memory registering on his face. I had come home to find Sophie's bright, colorful nursery transformed into a frilly pink princess room that reflected Patricia's outdated ideas of what a little girl should like, not the rainbows and animals Sophie actually loved. When I'd expressed my hurt and anger, Nathan had defended his mother. She was just trying to help. It looks more put together now, more proper. More proper. As if my daughter's joy and my parental authority were less important than his mother's sense of propriety. That's what this is about? A disagreement over decoration? Patricia scoffed. This is why marriage vows include, for better or worse, Olivia. You don't just quit when things aren't perfect. I turned to her, finally letting some of my anger show. This isn't about decoration, Patricia. This is about respect. Respect that you've never shown me, and respect that Nathan has never demanded you show me. This is about 5 years of being treated like an outsider in my own marriage. I picked up the yellow cleaning gloves and held them up. This isn't a gift. It's a message. Everything you've ever given me has been a message that I'm not good enough, not clean enough, not thin enough, not submissive enough to be worthy of your son. Nathan stared at the gloves as if seeing them for the first time. Mom, he said slowly, why would you give Olivia cleaning supplies for Christmas? Patricia bristled. Her house is a mess. Someone needed to give her a hint. It's our house, Nathan corrected, a flicker of something, awareness perhaps, crossing his face. And it's not a mess. Olivia works full-time and takes care of Sophie. And so do millions of other women without letting their standards slip, Patricia retorted. My house was always immaculate when you were growing up, and I never complained about it. I couldn't help but laugh at that. You had a weekly cleaning service, Patricia. Nathan told me all about how Mrs. Abernathy would come every Tuesday to do the deep cleaning. You've never scrubbed a toilet in your life. Patricia's face flushed. That's beside the point. A properly organized woman. Stop, Nathan interrupted, surprising us both. Just stop, Mom. He turned to me, his eyes searching my face. Olivia, Please, we can work this out. I didn't know you were this unhappy. We can go to counseling. I can set better boundaries with my mother. It's too late, I said softly. I've been telling you I was unhappy for years. I've been asking for counseling for years. You always said we were fine, that I was overreacting, that your mother was just being helpful. I checked my watch. My sister would be wondering where I was. I need to go. Sophie will be wondering where her presents are. You're not taking my granddaughter away from me, Patricia declared, her voice rising. Nathan, don't let her do this. And there it was. The possessiveness, the control, the complete disregard for me as Sophie's mother. I felt a strange calm descend over me as I picked up the bag of gifts for my daughter. That's not your decision to make, Patricia, I said. And it's not Nathan's either. It's the court's. Until then, Sophie will be staying with me at my sister's, and Nathan can visit according to the temporary custody arrangement outlined in those papers. Nathan looked shell-shocked. You've planned all this out, behind my back. Yes, I acknowledged. Because every time I tried to talk to you directly about our problems, you dismissed them. Every time I mentioned your mother's behavior, you defended her. I stopped trying to fight openly because it never made a difference. I headed toward the door, then turned back one last time. The saddest part is, Nathan, I really did love you. But I can't be married to both you and your mother, and you never gave me the chance to just be married to you. As I closed the door behind me, I heard Patricia's voice rising in indignation, already constructing the narrative where I was the villain, the ungrateful wife who abandoned her family at Christmas. But for the first time in 5 years, her opinion of me didn't matter. The crisp winter air felt like freedom as I walked to my car. My hands were steady as I placed Sophie's gifts in the trunk. 5 years of trying to be the perfect daughter-in-law, the perfect wife, the perfect mother, always falling short in Patricia's eyes, always defending myself to an unseeing husband, had finally ended with a pair of yellow rubber gloves and a stack of legal documents. Sometimes the most valuable gift is the permission to finally let go. When I arrived at my sister Jen's house, Sophie came running to greet me, her curls bouncing, her smile brighter than any Christmas light. Mommy, did Santa come to our house too? I knelt down and wrapped her in my arms, breathing in her sweet scent. He sure did, baby, and he left your presents for you right here at Aunt Jen's house. Jen appeared in the hallway, her expression questioning. I gave her a small nod and she exhaled. It's done? It's done, I confirmed, helping Sophie out of her coat. How did he take it? Jen asked quietly as Sophie skipped ahead into the living room. About as well as expected, confused, hurt. I hung up my coat. His mother was there. Jen winced. On purpose? Absolutely, I wanted her to see that her constant interference, her belittling, had consequences. I felt a twinge of guilt. Maybe that was petty. After what she's put you through? Jen shook her head. I'd say it was overdue. We followed Sophie into the warmth of the living room, where Jen's husband Tom was setting out breakfast. My niece Lily, just a year older than Sophie, was helping arrange napkins on the table. The scene of domestic tranquility made my throat tighten. This was what family should feel like: supportive, warm, collaborative. Aunt Olivia, we waited for you to open presents, Lily announced. Daddy said we had to eat breakfast first anyway, but I wanted to wait for you and Sophie. That was very thoughtful, sweetie, I replied, accepting the mug of coffee Tom handed me with a grateful smile. As the girls ate their French toast with exaggerated care, eager to move on to the presents waiting under the tree, my phone began to buzz. Nathan's face appeared on the screen, then his mother's number, then Nathan again. Do you need to get that? Jen asked. I silenced the phone and put it away. Number whatever they have to say can go through the lawyers now. Mommy, when is Daddy coming? Sophie asked suddenly, her fork paused midway to her mouth. Is he bringing Grandma Patricia? The innocent question pierced my heart. How do you explain divorce to a 2-year-old? How do you say that Daddy loves you, but Daddy and Mommy can't live together anymore? That Grandma Patricia will still be in her life, but not in mine? Daddy is having Christmas morning at our house, I explained gently. He'll see you tomorrow for a special Christmas Day number 2. Sophie considered this. 2 Christmases? That's right, baby. And 2 sets of presents? Her eyes widened at the prospect. Despite everything, I had to smile. I suppose so. Sophie seemed satisfied with this arrangement and returned to her breakfast. Children were resilient, I reminded myself. With love and stability, she would adjust to our new reality. I just had to make sure that the tension between Nathan, his mother, and me didn't spill over onto her. After breakfast, we moved to the Christmas tree. Watching Sophie's face light up as she opened her gifts, I felt the rightness of my decision settling into my bones. This was what mattered: my daughter's happiness, my own mental health, building a life where I wasn't constantly walking on eggshells or being undermined. My phone buzzed again, this time with a text from Nathan. "We need to talk. Please call me. This isn't right." I showed Jen the message and she frowned. Classic. Now he wants to talk. 5 years too late, I murmured, putting the phone away again. Sophie was showing me her new doll, chattering about its features, when Tom quietly mentioned that someone was at the door. My stomach dropped. I knew without looking who it would be. "I'll handle it," Jen said, rising to her feet. "Stay with the girls." I nodded, focusing on Sophie's excitement, rather than the muffled voices in the entryway. But soon Patricia's distinctive tone, sharp with indignation, cut through the Christmas music playing in the background. "I have every right to see my granddaughter on Christmas. Olivia cannot keep her from us." Jen's voice was calm but firm. "Patricia, now is not the time. Sophie is happy and opening presents. Olivia has made it clear that Nathan can see Sophie tomorrow, as outlined in the temporary arrangement." Temporary arrangement. There's nothing temporary about family bonds. I took a deep breath and turned to Tom. "Could you stay with the girls for a minute?" He nodded, immediately engaging them in examining a new toy, as I made my way to the entryway. Nathan stood behind his mother, looking uncomfortable but not intervening, a familiar sight that no longer disappointed me because I no longer expected anything different. "Patricia," I said, keeping my voice level. "This isn't helping anyone, least of all Sophie." "Don't you dare tell me what helps my granddaughter," she snapped. "You're tearing apart her family on Christmas morning. What kind of mother does that?" I felt a flash of anger but controlled it. The kind who wants her daughter to grow up seeing healthy relationships modeled, not constant criticism and undermining. Undermining? I've only ever tried to help you become a better wife and mother. By criticizing everything I do? By rearranging my home without permission? By giving me cleaning gloves for Christmas while my husband gets expensive whiskey? Patricia's face flushed. Some people need more guidance than others. Nathan finally spoke up. "Mom, maybe we should go. Olivia's right. Making a scene isn't going to help." Patricia turned on him. "And now you're taking her side? After she ambushed you with divorce papers in front of me?" "It wasn't an ambush," I said quietly. "Nathan has been ignoring my unhappiness for years. The papers were just the formalization of what's been happening in our marriage for a long time." "Our marriage?" Nathan repeated, looking at me directly. "Ours, Olivia, not my mother's. I know I've let her have too much influence, but that's something we can work on. We can fix this." For a moment, I almost wavered. There was genuine pain in his eyes, genuine regret. But then Patricia spoke again. "Of course you can fix it. Olivia's obviously having some kind of breakdown. Maybe postpartum depression." "Sophie is too, Patricia," I cut in. "And I'm not having a breakdown. I'm finally standing up for myself." Nathan placed a hand on his mother's shoulder. "Mom, please wait in the car. I need to talk to Olivia alone." To my surprise, Patricia hesitated, then nodded stiffly. "Fine, but make it quick. We're supposed to be at Aunt Helen's for Christmas brunch in an hour." After she walked out, Nathan turned to me with pleading eyes. "Olivia, please, come home. Let's talk about this. I know I've made mistakes, but don't throw away 5 years of marriage over one bad Christmas gift." I shook my head. "It's not one gift, Nathan. It's a pattern. A pattern of you always choosing your mother's happiness over mine. Always prioritizing her opinions over mine. Always making me feel like an outsider in my own family." "I never meant to make you feel that way," he said, his voice breaking. I love you. I thought keeping my mother happy was just part of keeping the peace, keeping our family functioning. But we weren't functioning, I replied softly. I was drowning, and you didn't notice because as long as your mother was satisfied, you thought everything was fine. In the living room, I could hear Sophie's laughter as she played with her cousin. The sound strengthened my resolve. I deserve better than to be an afterthought in my own marriage, Nathan. And Sophie deserves to see her mother valued and respected. He looked down, shoulders slumping. What can I do? Tell me how to fix this. I don't think it can be fixed, I admitted. Too much damage has been done. But you can respect the custody arrangement in the papers, and you can start seeing how your mother's behavior affects the people around her. Not for me, but for Sophie's sake. Nathan nodded slowly. Can I at least see her before I go? Just for a minute? I hesitated, then nodded. Just for a minute, but don't upset her or try to make her feel bad about being here instead of at home. I wouldn't do that, he said, looking wounded. Not intentionally, mais m'attendre, I agreed. But you've let your mother do it to me for years without recognizing it. So I'm asking you to be careful with Sophie's feelings. I led him into the living room, where Sophie looked up and squealed with delight. Daddy, look at my new doll! Nathan knelt down, his face lighting up in a genuine smile as Sophie showed him her presents. I watched them interact, feeling a complex mixture of sadness and relief. Nathan loved our daughter fiercely, and I never doubted that. It was recognizing and respecting me as her mother, as his wife, as an equal partner that he had failed at so consistently. After a few minutes, he rose to leave. I'll see you tomorrow, Princess, he told Sophie, who was already absorbed in play again. Daddy will have more presents for you at home. In the hallway, he paused. Olivia, I am sorry. I never understood how unhappy you were. I should have listened better. Yes, I said simply. You should have. After he left, Jen found me staring out the window, watching Nathan's car pull away. You okay? She asked, placing a hand on my shoulder. I think I will be, I replied. For the first time in a long time. Jen smiled. You know what? I got you something special. She pulled a small wrapped package from her pocket. Inside was a delicate silver bracelet with a single charm, a butterfly emerging from a chrysalis. New beginnings, Jen explained, helping me fasten it around my wrist. Because that's what this is, Liv. Not an ending, a transformation. I touched the bracelet, feeling a surge of emotion. Thank you. From the living room came Sophie's voice, calling for me to see something amazing her doll could do. I turned toward the sound, toward my daughter, toward our future. A future where yellow rubber gloves and passive-aggressive gifts would no longer define my worth. Patricia would always be Sophie's grandmother, and Nathan would always be Sophie's father. Those relationships wouldn't change. But my relationship with myself had changed irrevocably the moment I decided I deserved better than to be the third wheel in my own marriage. As I joined Sophie on the floor to examine her doll's apparently miraculous features, I felt lighter than I had in years. Christmas had always been about new hope coming into the world. This year, that hope was mine. 6 months after serving divorce papers at Christmas, I sat across from Nathan in a mediator's office, finalizing the details of our divorce settlement. The process had been surprisingly civil. Once Nathan understood I was serious, he had shown more backbone with his mother than I'd seen in our entire marriage. Mom's not taking it well, he admitted during a break in the proceedings. She keeps saying you've poisoned me against her. I kept my expression neutral. And what do you say to that? He sighed. I tell her that I made my own choices, and I'm making different ones now. Better late than never, I guess. Better for Sophie, I agreed. Nathan looked down at his hands. I started seeing a therapist. He's helping me understand some patterns. Ways I've always deferred to my mother because it was easier than standing up to her. Ways I learned to keep the peace at all costs. I nodded, surprised but pleased. That's good, Nathan. Really, would it make any difference for us? He asked hesitantly. If I'm working on these things? I thought about the last 6 months living at Jen's, the peace I'd found, the strength I'd reclaimed. As co parents, it makes all the difference in the world. As former spouses, I think that chapter is closed. He accepted this with surprising grace. I understand. I just wanted to know if there was any chance. Later that evening, as I packed the last of Sophie's toys for our move into our new apartment, my phone rang with Patricia's number. I nearly let it go to voicemail, then decided to answer. We would be connected through Sophie forever. Avoidance solved nothing. "Hello, Patricia," I said, trying to keep my tone neutral. "Olivia." Her voice sounded older, less imperious than I remembered. "I wanted to say the things you said at Christmas, about how I treated you. I've been thinking about them." I waited, saying nothing. "I didn't see it," she continued after a moment. "I didn't see how I was pushing you away, pushing Nathan to choose sides. After losing Nathan's father 3 years ago, I think I held on too tightly to what family I had left." The mention of Nathan Sr.'s death gave me pause. It had been during that time that Patricia's interference had intensified, her criticism becoming more pointed, her presence in our lives more constant. "I'm not asking you to forgive me, Patricia said, surprising me further. "But I am asking for a chance to do better. For Sophie's sake." "Sophie loves you," I acknowledged, "and she deserves a grandmother who respects her mother." "I understand that now," Patricia replied. "I won't pretend it will be easy for me to change, but I am trying. Nathan helped me find a grief counselor. It turns out I've been handling Nathan Sr.'s death poorly." I thought about the yellow cleaning gloves still sitting in a box in Jen's garage. They symbolize so much: criticism, control, condescension. But now, hearing the vulnerability in Patricia's voice, I wondered if they had also been a symptom of her own pain, her own fear of losing control. "Thank you for calling, Patricia," I said finally. "I appreciate your willingness to work on things." After we hung up, I finished packing in thoughtful silence. The divorce would be finalized next week. Nathan would have Sophie every other weekend and one evening during the week. Patricia would see Sophie during some of Nathan's time, with the understanding that she would respect boundaries. It wasn't the family structure I had imagined when I married Nathan 5 years ago. It wasn't the happy ending I dreamed of. But as I looked around at the boxes labeled for our new home, Sophie's and mine, I realized it was something just as important: a new beginning. The cleaning gloves had been meant as a message that I wasn't good enough. The divorce papers had been my answer. I deserved better. Now, as I prepared to start this new chapter, I understood that both of us had been speaking from our pain, Patricia from her grief, me from years of feeling undermined and unseen. I picked up a framed photo of Sophie, her smile wide and uninhibited. This was what mattered now: raising a daughter who knew her worth, who would never accept yellow rubber gloves as a measure of her value. Sophie deserved that. And finally, I realized so did I.